What you're looking at is the Karma, an entirely new car from an entirely new car company. And I guess you could be forgiven for sitting there thinking that it's another one of those heroically futile cars powered by an awful lot of enthusiasm and not much else, never destined to make it into production. But you could scarcely be more wrong. These guys already have 300 employees. They have 3,000 orders. They've got $1.1 billion in the bank. If you believe nothing else, believe this. These guys are serious. If you look at it, you may well be able to see little bits of BMW Z8 in there. You might even think that you can see a bit of Aston Martin Vantage in these lines. And that's not a surprise because Henrik Fisker, the man behind this company, designed both cars. But this car in every other respect is not like the Z8, the Aston Martin, or any other car that has come to market. To use Fisker's words, this is the world's first luxury plug-in hybrid. So let us think just for a moment about exactly what it is that's making this car go. Essentially, it's two electric motors, each with around 200 horsepower, sitting at the back of the car. But this is not a pure electric vehicle in the same way as the Vauxhall Ampera uses a normal piston engine to boost the batteries to provide extra power to extend the range. So too does this car, except this car doesn't have a 1.4 Corsa engine in it like the Ampera. It has a 270 horsepower four-cylinder General Motors engine, the one that used to go into the Pontiac Solstice. What does this all mean? Well, you have a car which has various different modes, the two important ones being what they call Stealth and Sport. Stealth, as you might expect, is entirely electric mode, and that'll allow you to cruise around the place for around 50 miles at a single time on a single charge entirely electrically. Even on electric power alone, it's not a slow car. It'll get to 60 in about 7.5 seconds, and it'll carry on to about 95 miles an hour. But if you put it into sport mode, then you will hear the rather gruff sounding four-cylinder engine spark up, which will start to feed the batteries, which will enable them to let the electric motors give proper power. Do that, and Fisker says this car will be capable of getting to 60 miles an hour in 5.9 seconds, and they only limit its top speed to 125 to stop the batteries overheating. They say that if you let it go forever, it would carry on to 168 miles per hour. Fisker has done what it can to reduce the weight as far as possible. The chassis itself is an aluminium space frame, and all the body panels are either aluminium or composite. But running right down the spine of the car is the lithium-ion battery pack, and these things are heavy, and I do mean heavy. This car weighs a little bit more than 2.5 tons, which puts it in the same sort of bracket as a top-of-the-line Land Rover Discovery, or indeed a Rolls-Royce Phantom. The other interesting thing about this car, and this is what is so cool about all electric cars, is it develops maximum torque from literally zero, from a standstill. And in this case, that equates to 981 pound-feet of torque, which is more than a Bugatti Veyron. So when I put my foot down, I know it weighs 2.5 tons, but I'm expecting it to go. So we're going to try this. We're just in stealth mode, purely electric. Let's see how quick it is. Go. Okay, it's not exactly smoking its tyres, but it's quite impressive. I mean, given that there is no engine working here at all, it's really very quick. As for the way the car handles, well, the raw material is perhaps not that prepossessing. You've got, as we've already discovered, an extremely heavy car with an extremely long wheelbase. But we know this is also a GT car, so perhaps our expectation levels should not be too high. Now, we're going through some, quite fast curves here. I have to say, it feels extremely planted. It manages its mass very well, and it doesn't feel like a particularly agile car, but it also doesn't feel like 2.5 tons of weight flopping around. For me, one of the most interesting facets of this car is its interior. There are so few switches in here. You have a touchscreen down here where you have a menu, and then everything else derives from that. There's the odd switch for the hazard warning lights, open the glove box, and a couple on the steering wheel. Other than that, nothing. The car's very comfortable, the seats are very good, driving position's very good. I'm really quite impressed by the attention to detail that they have put into creating the sort of long-distance cruising type ability that any car that is going to be credible and successful at this end of the market is going to need to have. I think the best way to look at this car, at first at least, is to look at what it isn't. What it isn't is a great driver's car. It was never meant to be one of those. It's not a sports car. They say that the target car is the Mercedes CLS. They don't even say the AMG version. It's a CLS. So it is a grand touring car. In that regard, it does have some problems. There's not enough room in the back. There's not enough room in the boot. The four-cylinder petrol engine makes too much noise and the wrong kind of noise. But if you can live with those things, what you are looking at here is a car which puts a pretty staggering proposition to you. What it's saying is this is a car that will do over 100 miles to the gallon, under 90 grams per kilometre of CO2. Yet it'll still get to 60 in under 6 seconds and will cruise within reason at any speed that your licence will withstand. It is an incredibly soothing, relaxing way to sit in heavy traffic, and if that's what you have to do, it really is very hard to think of a better way of doing it than this. Also, it then possesses the ability to take you anywhere you want to go, and unlike a normal electric car, it isn't going to run dry after 60 miles. So what do I think of the Fisker Karma? I am, to be honest, very impressed. It's not perfect, it's got some issues, but as a startup car from a startup company, it is, I think, a staggering achievement.